Good evening, everyone. You're watching NewsX's special series, Second Wave Superheroes, where we recognize individuals and organizations who stepped up to help people as India reeled under the devastating second wave. Our first guest, Anut Singh, provided food, dry ration kits to migrant laborers. Anut, along with a team of volunteers, also provided sanitary kits to girls in orphanages. Listen in.
As Delhi entered second coronavirus lockdown, Anut Singh and his team decided to combat migrant hunger. They were focused at providing free daytime meals and dry rations to unemployed and migrant laborers, women, and children. They also distributed sanitary kits to girls in orphanages. NewsX proudly recognizes second wave superhero Anut Singh.
Hello, welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're watching NewsX, and you're joining us today on our special show, Second Wave Superheroes. We're in conversation today with Anut Singh, social worker. Anut, firstly, welcome to NewsX. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Uday. Happy to be here.
Let me begin by asking you about, this initiative of yours. What really led you and your family to start it?
Well, Uday, I've got to give complete credit to my mom. At the beginning of the second lockdown in April, when it felt like the sky was falling down on us in Delhi, it really felt like our city was on fire, wasn't it? She felt that with the resources she had at her disposal, it was her duty to help out people in need. So it really started out as just distributing food to those who could, she could provide to at the time. Mm-hmm. And she linked up with this local NGO called Delhi Langar Seva Society. And then, over the span of a few days, suddenly they're distributing a few hundred meals a day, which was quite an impressive task to do in such a short span of time. Since then, we've come a long way and expanded, but that's really how it all began.
Okay, just tell us a bit about the work that you managed to do so far. As you're saying, it started out small, but you managed to get momentum into this initiative. So tell us about the work you managed to do so far.
Okay, so, well, you'd know that, of course, most of our government resources are being directed toward ensuring oxygen supplies and hospital beds and procuring vaccines, which they should be, but often those who are left unemployed and the socio-economic effects of the coronavirus lockdown are neglected. So with that in mind, we've been trying to feed people, provide free meals. And so what we're basically doing is we started a sort of langar in our own house. Mm-hmm. So we have our in-house team, consists about 10 people. We have 2 cooks making the food, about 5 or 6 people in packaging, and 3 who go out for distribution. Sometimes I'll join them, sometimes my mother will join them. Mm-hmm. And so it's totally in-house, and it sort of started like that. And we were going at that rate for about a month, feeding a few hundred people every other day or so. And this was all done at our own cost, privately provided. But, eventually we started, it wasn't sustainable. So I set up a donor page just a couple of weeks ago, hoping to rally some support from the public for the cause. And so far we've received a tremendous response, and I've got to say that's what's really helped us expand.
Fantastic. So you're saying that the response from people, obviously we reached out to immediately, and then the wider public at large has been amazing, both across the country and abroad. And has that led to your drive expanding all over the city, all over Delhi?
Oh, it certainly has, Uday. And the response has been outstanding. Of course, friends and family donated, and to be honest, initially that's all we expected. So up till now, in the last 13 days, we've raised 6,30,000 rupees. Mm-hmm. And that surpassed any expectation we had. So let me give you some numbers. We've had about 80 donors. Many of these donors have donated more than once as well.
Okay.
So I applaud them. And quite interestingly, a quarter of those 80 donors have come from overseas. So people are donating from countries like America, Canada, Thailand, Bangladesh. So it's really been an international effort. And I feel like that really reflects the world standing with India, standing with Delhi in our time of plight. And that's something that I so much appreciate.
Yes.
And let me tell you how it's helped us expand as well. So now we've got more income coming in. So at first we had meal stalls in Ayanagar and Kotla, Anand Vihar, but now we've managed to expand to places like Chandanhola, Dera Village, Sangam Vihar, and we're not only giving out meals, by the way, we also give dry ration kits.
Okay.
So I can tell you what's in the meal. So each meal on average is about 500 grams. So far, it's been things like, aloo puri or dal chawal, rajma chawal.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's quite good. I'm not going to lie. I've had a few nibbles. Don't tell anyone. But
you deserve it for helping. And are you giving it to men, to women, to children, to the jobless, or everyone really who depends on you?
Okay, so quite frankly, initially our target was unemployed migrant laborers, like auto rickshaw drivers, street vendors, hawkers, but it's their spouses, it's their children, it's their dependents as well. So sometimes you have groups coming as families. I mean, I've seen mothers coming with babies as young as, I can only presume, 8 months old, coming and depending entirely on these rations. In fact, just the other day I went to take oral testimonies and I spoke to some of these people, and they said without these stalls they'd have nowhere else to go for food. So the dependence is increasing on us, and it's important donations keep coming in, and
definitely
it's important we raise awareness about this.
Yeah, and that's why we're highlighting you today, of course. Where do you see this headed now next? Where you, as you're saying, you've got great momentum already. What plans next?
Well, so as you'd know, we're now starting to see the ease of the lockdown in Delhi, but that doesn't mean our efforts are going to stop.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is formalize our efforts. Right now, it's been a sort of private family household effort, but we're trying to register an NGO, and we're in the process of completing that. So once we do, we'll be able to access funds from corporate entities that have social responsibility funds. And also, we're very fortunate to have a great number of civic citizens in Delhi volunteer their services. So we'll certainly call upon them when the time comes.
Great. And final question then, how can people support you? Those who've been very impressed by what you've done so far, have heard you out today on NewsX. How can they support you? How can they help you and your cause?
Well, Uday, I suppose the most important thing is to donate and spread the word if you can share it on social media. And perhaps above all, I mean, it's not really a success because poverty still does exist and it's not going to go away overnight and probably not within our lifetimes. Mm-hmm. And no goal is too ambitious and no funds that we can receive are too much to tackle this problem. So what I do is encourage more people in civil society to start their own initiatives and try to do more for the lower rungs of society. I mean, India has one of the most skewed wealth distributions in the world. Something like 10% of Indians control 80% of the wealth. Mm-hmm. Now, so a lot of people have, if not a civic responsibility, a moral responsibility to help those in need during what's one of India's greatest humanitarian crises in decades.
True. Well, that's a great message that you've sent out to our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us, Anut, and wishing you, your mother, and of course the team the entire best for this journey ahead. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Uday, and I hope you and everybody else who watches this stay safe during these troubling times.
And our next guest, Siddharth Chauhan, helped the invisible victims of the pandemic. He and his team educated poor students and provided food and masks predominantly in rural areas. Listen in.
During second COVID wave, rural India's healthcare system was overburdened. The COVID crisis in rural areas was a silent one. Under his initiative Care-Ona, Siddharth Chauhan decided to help rural India. His team educated poor students and provided masks and food to those in need. NewsX proudly recognizes second wave superhero Siddharth Chauhan.
Hello and a warm welcome to NewsX Second Wave Superheroes. I am Anut Chauhan and today I'm joined with a very special guest. His name is Siddharth Chauhan. He's the founder of an initiative called Project Care-Ona. He's also an LLM candidate at the Harvard Law School. Welcome to the show, Siddharth.
Thank you so much, Ojasvi.
So, I would like you to begin by telling our viewers that how exactly, you helped people and what is Project Care-Ona basically?
So, Project Care-Ona started as an initiative to raise awareness about COVID-19 in rural India. So, we started off by distributing masks initially. So, I got in touch with some friends and we went to rural areas to make masks so that we could give them employment in rural areas. So it started off in Himachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Rajasthan. And later in the second wave, we realized there's so much to be done, and mask is just one part of it, and that's just awareness. So we went on to help students who were impacted by COVID because their education was impacted. So I organized a team of almost 20 people and told them that we can do very little also, which means like we just help students who are not from privileged backgrounds to how to navigate their education in COVID-19 with like low tech initiatives, even if it's, how to operate WhatsApp, because, certain schools were giving assignments on WhatsApp. So that's how we took one step. Another step which we took was we helped teachers told them about, how to access, various modes at this point of time to deliver their lectures. I think that's all we were doing initially. And then later, the second wave hit us so badly. I realized there was so much misinformation on the internet. People were, being turned away and people didn't have credible information. So again, we organized the same team, worked on, verifying the information, putting verified leads on the internet. I used my social media accounts for that. Like it was on my Instagram, my Twitter, to help people with leads, verified leads to, so get certain medicines, hospital beds, oxygen supplies. And right now, I am helping 3 villages in Himachal Pradesh to get them vaccinated and promoting, asking them to get vaccinated and helping them to navigate the process and helping with the registration process.
Thanks for the information, and this is like really great work. Also, what was your motivation exactly? Was there a particular incident that made you just go out and help people? What was your motivation?
So Project Care-Ona started when India went first in lockdown. And, I come from a small Himalayan village, Kotkai in Himachal Pradesh. And I was speaking to someone and they were quite clueless in the beginning. And they said, oh, it's just a normal flu. It will go away. Don't worry. And that really worried me because, it's in the mountains, the medical infrastructure is not that great, and especially with this COVID, we have seen like how it has really impacted our medical infrastructure system. So that was just like one instance. It was just a random phone call while I was in Mumbai that time, and I realized that I need to do something back home for people back home, and that was my true motivation to start this project.
Okay. Also, since you were helping people directly, and I'm assuming you were in direct contact with the families of patients, and everybody. So, were there any emotional moments or any moments that moved you totally?
Yeah, there have been actually many such moments when I was out there distributing masks, because what was different in this project is like we didn't choose any particular area that we would go there and distribute masks. We were out there, just go to any random place and see if people are not having masks to distribute them. And one person, still reminds me, he said he was a vegetable seller, and he told me that, his sales are so little, he doesn't have the money to buy masks, even a single mask. So then I told him that, this mask which I am giving you can be washed again and again, and you can reuse it. And the way that I think that moment I cannot explain in words. And it was a very special moment. And he was so thankful. And I realized that even a single, drop in the ocean can, make the change so beautiful.
Yeah, that's some great work you've been doing. These people are never going to forget you in their lives, I guess.
Thank you so much.
Are there any ways people can, associate with you? Are you open to taking volunteers? Tell us about that.
Yeah, definitely. I am always looking for volunteers, and I tell them that, you don't need to be from any specific area. You just reach out to me, or you just DM us on Instagram, Project Corona, or on my social media accounts. So people have reached out to me. So they have said, oh, we are in Rajasthan right now. How we could, help us? How could we or help your project? So I always tell them, you can, do your bit by even helping somebody, a child of a worker who might be badly impacted by this and whose education might be impacted. So you can do little bits in your own ways. So we are always looking for people who can always, help us amplify the voices. That would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Also, experts suggest that now a third wave or a next wave is inevitable. It will surely come. So, how do you think should India prepare for that?
I think the second COVID wave has really shown us that, don't take anything lightly. This is serious business. Pandemic has really crippled our economy. And I feel the government should now be fully prepared to address the issues. Technology cannot be the only way to address this issue to get a vaccine. There has to be multiple drives which should help people, because we are also looking at people who are living in rural areas who don't have internet connectivity. We're also looking at people with different disabilities who might not be able to, access and make use of technology. So I think those things should be the priority for the government.
Yeah. What advice do you have for the youth? I mean, a lot of people can also do what you're doing, but they just choose not to.
You don't have to change lives of 10,000 people. You don't have to change lives of many people altogether. Just take one step. That one life which you have changed will have, ripple effects and will be changing, lives of so many people. I think that's what is the beauty of youth, which we can do. Like, even if you think of changing, like every drop in the ocean counts. So if you do change life of even one people, that one person would be so motivated by you, like they might want to do something else. Like, this is what I've seen with my project as well. Like, there were so many people who were so motivated about this. They started different projects after that. And I think the youth should come out and, support the country, because it's all our future which is going to be impacted by COVID-19. So if we take steps now to address them, that would be great.
Thanks for making that point, and thanks for joining us today. Also, thanks for doing all the good work that you've been doing for the society.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
And our last guest is Sandeep Chacha from ActionAid India, who sourced oxygen cylinders to ration kits for the poor. They've also been assisting the government in vaccination camps across multiple states. Have a look.
From providing oxygen concentrators and rations to assisting government in vaccination. ActionAid India stepped up when the nation was going through the hardest time. We salute Sandeep Chacha and all the volunteers of ActionAid India for being the superheroes during the second wave.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX Second Wave Superheroes. Now, while the country was dealing with pandemic, there were people who stood out and helped thousands of people. Today on the show, we have Sandeep Chacha, Executive Director of ActionAid Association and co-chairperson of World Urban Campaign. We welcome you to the show, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me here, and greetings to all the viewers. It's nice to be here. I want to take this space and opportunity to celebrate and express gratitude to the countless brave women and men and children as well. And among them, those who've also been in very vulnerable situations, actually who stepped out despite their challenges to offer hearted support to those in need. I think it is this collective heroism and heroism that I think it's time beyond individuals to celebrate this collective heroism and heroism of countless people. And among them, I want to take this opportunity to express gratitude to the 46,000 people who worked with us and work with us for this cause, and my own teams across 20 states of 400 plus people, the social organizations we work with in districts, in blocks, at the state level. So it's time for us to celebrate that. And thank you for having me here to share this journey with you.
Thank you so much, sir. So I would just like to begin with how did you help thousands of people along with your team? How did this start?
See, the phase of the second wave is that of the oxygen cylinder, the phase of death, the phase of health, and it was essential to save lives and future. And that's what we've attempted to do in our way. We are a part of the wider ecosystem. In our own humble way, we've done precisely that. In the last month and a half, working together with the thousands of volunteers and teams that we spoke to, we've actually reached out. We set up initially with helplines and help desks. So we had helplines running in about 15 states, 71 help desks, which were offering support services, linkages to hospital beds, to medicines, to doctors. We even ran a doctor's helpline. A national one is still running, state ones as well running. So that's what we did to link them up with doctors, medicine, oxygen cylinders, hospital beds, and any other support that is needed, oftentimes ambulatory services. So that's what we did. If I sort of look at the last 2 weeks, we've had some 28,000 plus calls for support across these 20 states, so 15 to 20 states. And we reached out in a minor way or a major way, actually, to over 24,000 people. So that's one of the first things we did. Among the very important and, I think crucial second thing that we've been doing, and it's unfolding still, is to strengthen the public health infrastructure and outreach. So at the district level, at the block level, and this we've done through the following. We've set up COVID care centers essentially across blocks and districts in partnership with district administration. Two days ago, our 16th such COVID care center was inaugurated in Dudhi block of Kushinagar district in eastern UP. So this was our 16th. We are in the process, and we began this about 15 days ago to distribute and support oxygen cylinders. And this is being done across 200 districts, 6,500 oxygen concentrators. Actually, not cylinders, concentrators and cylinders, both 6,500 concentrators are being reached out to district and block level, community healthcare centers, primary healthcare centers, other COVID facilities, even at the state level. Along with this are other items which are needed, the thermoscanners, the oximeters, the PPE kits for frontline workers, particularly for vulnerable workers. That's also we've been distributing. So that's the second thing that we've done. The third thing that we've done is essentially, and that is again a process unfolding. We've set up, we are in the process of setting up COVID childcare facilities in the pediatric wards. This is being set up in Patna this week, and then later in Madhupur in Jharkhand, and we have plans for 3 more such facilities. So in total 5 for now, may expand depending on resources that we are able to solicit. In addition, the other important thing is setting up oxygen plants. So by the second week of May, our first oxygen plant, which we supported to a COVID care facility in UP, in Noida, was set up. It's a PSA concentrator oxygen plant. 4 more such plants are being set up at this moment now. So that's all. That's what we've been doing on the medical front. But the more important thing, and I want to sort of touch on that, is the question of vaccination. The more we vaccinate, the safer everybody will be. Now, depending on levels of vaccination, our effort is to reach out vaccination awareness as well as awareness in COVID appropriate behavior to far-flung areas, to rural areas, to communities which don't have such access. And we are currently in 120 districts working on these micro campaigns. And we're using innovative ways. We are, for instance, we are using puppetry, we are using theater, we are using megaphones, we are using autos, tempos. Even in Bolangir, I saw us using bullock carts and cycles because other forms of conveyance weren't available. So we've been doing that. We've also, in sense, been working with community leaders, faith leaders, because that's the message that sticks. Oftentimes, when we work together with district administration and it's the community leaders, the young human rights defenders, the youth club leaders, if they join the campaign with the information, the message is much better appreciated and taken. We're also assisting mass vaccination programs by the district authorities. We are assisters in taking them to difficult communities, to remote communities, whether it's the Musars in Eastern UP. I saw 2 days ago in Bishnupur district of Manipur, we were doing that. I saw that in other difficult districts of UP and Bihar, where normally such services won't reach, or to communities such services won't reach, among homeless people, for instance. So we've been doing that.
Sir, if I ask you, what were the major challenges that you faced during this whole campaign and during the whole process? What are the major challenges that you face?
See, the first big challenge, it's not just only about us. The first big challenge is eventually the third wave or the severity of the third wave will depend on the levels of vaccination that we are able to achieve, or the rapidity of vaccination that we as a country are able to achieve. So we need to prepare for that. And I think the big challenge is the vaccination outreach. There's significant hesitancy, fears, many unfounded, some which need to be talked with among people regarding vaccination. That's one part. The other part is simply the fact that in very vulnerable communities, oftentimes outreach isn't there. So I think that's one of the big challenges that I'd like to identify in our successful efforts towards universal and free vaccination. I think that's something we need to quickly address. And strengthening public health infrastructure in institutions. You see, the more facilities we have, which people can access free, the better chances of their survival would be. So I think that's the other big challenge.
Yeah, so now the cases are declining and everything is somewhat settling down. What does the future look from now on? What does the future look from now on?
See, any such crisis, and this is a world pandemic and a world crisis and an Indian crisis as well at the same time, carries transformation. Well, let me correct it historically, carries potential for transformation. So whether we are able to enter that doorway of structural transformations to address the unequal past, to secure just and equal futures for all in our country, would depend on a lot of things. Crying out, for instance, is a tall need for a caring society. I mean, we've seen that, right? For a very strong welfare state, for a nurturing economy, a solidarity economy, an ecological sort of a future. So these are all crying out loudly to us. And this means that in order to enter that doorway, great societal leadership, transformative leadership is needed. I'm optimist, and I feel optimistic that such will happen. But we need to all collectively ensure that we seize this moment to fundamentally transform. And in doing so, let's also not forget that histories have been very unkind to millions, have been very unequal to millions. So we must ensure that unequal histories don't lead to unequal futures, and that we see the possibility of equal futures, a just and equal society for all. And in doing so, it's not just the apologies for the wrongs of history, but we need to ensure those protections and that promise for future to all those who have been left behind. And I think this is the future that we all wish to see. And it is within our grasp, it is within our hands to reach it, our possibilities to reach it, Tanishq.
Thank you so much, sir. Definitely, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you so much for helping thousands of people and being the superhero during the second wave of COVID. Thank you, sir.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.